Hello YouTubes! Today is the day I've been waiting for a long time. Today we are going to mold and cast locks. I've got 7 locks made up. We're going to mold them all, and I want to cast them and do different finishes and stuff on them. All these guys are in Christmas boxes I got from the dollar store. Anytime you get a chance to take a shot at Christmas, you take it. So I've got all these guys blue tacked, and they're stuck down onto the mold boxes. I've got them cut and silicone together, that way they'll be a nice little mold box and stay together. I've got everything already sprayed down with mold release. I just sprayed everything in, and then I took a brush and wiped it all down to get it in those little cracks and crevices around the lock and inside the box. I will have to spray these again and dust each mold again before we dump silicone in. We're going to need some mixing cups, which I have, and we're going to need a Pepsi because this is going to be a long one, so I've got to have some fuel. I'm going to use the Silicone 20T. We're going to mix that 1 to 1, and then we're going to dump in each box. We'll do each lock one by one. I'll show you a couple, then I'll finish off the rest. It's warm outside, so we got to watch because this stuff is expensive. I'm going to mix one lock at a time. If I have any overpour, I'll pour off into another mold. But that stuff's almost $200 for the 2 gallons right there, a little over with shipping. So I got to be careful with it. I don't want it hardened up in the cup on me, then I can't use the stuff. So I do have one lock that is already filled with leftover mold flashing. I've already chunked up a bunch of old mold pieces and stuff that I had from other molds, so that'll help me fill this mold, and it helps you use up the stuff so you use less silicone because that stuff's expensive. So I'm going to crack these big buckets open. We're going to get ready to pour some silicone, and I'll show you how to mold a lock, and we'll get going on this project. Okay, YouTube, so we're good to go. I've got about 13 ounces of part A, 13 ounces of part B, both in separate cups. I'll mix one into the other, and then I'll mix it up with a stir stick. You're going to want to wear gloves for this. It's nasty stuff. That's why I've got this tarp down. I'm going to go ahead and fill up this lock first since it's already covered in little chunks of silicone from other molds. So I'll fill this guy up first, and we'll go to this little smallest guy first. I've already went ahead and sprayed a second coat of mold release on this one, so they're ready to go. If I overflow this one, I've got a mold release ready to go on this one. This guy's nice and wet too. This will be the sun and moon lock, so he's good to go. It shouldn't go much further than that. So the buckets are open. I'll show you guys. Basically, it's just creamy white silicone. Pretty crazy looking. And this is the same stuff I use in my monster magnet casting video, so we'll just set the lids on there for now since we're going to need more. Woo, don't want to lose it. Alright, we're going to dump, I'm going to separate these cups when I'm done, so hopefully the silicone will stick. I can take it out, and I can use the same cup for one of them. This side's already thickened up a little bit. You can see they're both about the same thickness. So, let's see, we'll dump A into B. And we got to mix the hell out of this stuff, make it nice and thorough. And you got to pay attention because this stuff is clear, so you got to mix it real good. There's no color indicator or anything on this stuff, so you want to get it all out. So make sure we have even parts of both. So we're going to scrape this one real good. I want every last bit in there. Now we've got about 20 minutes or so to mix this, but it seems like in the summertime, silicone wants to kick a whole lot faster. So I'm going to count on about 5 or 10 minutes for this stuff. And it takes about 30 minutes in the mold to set up before you can pull your stuff. But I want to leave it a little bit longer just to see. So once I get these guys poured up, I'll show you, as I do the rest of the locks, what they look like before we demold them. So I'm happy with that. Let's mix the hell out of this stuff. Go all the way to the bottom, mix the sides. We don't want any wet spots in the mold where this stuff didn't cure or the pieces, the silicone separated. We don't want to introduce too many bubbles, so I'm not trying to hammer stir it, but yet we want to get this super well mixed because you don't want any pockets where it didn't get mixed together. But this smooth on stuff, I love the 20T. It's great stuff, man. Alright. And then this stuff will get hot when it starts to kick too. Alright. Try not to really show any air bubbles. Alright. And it's probably about 80 degrees in the garage, so it's going to make this process go a whole lot faster. Alright. Let's see what we do. Save that stick. Alright. Now, Horror Beauty, I heard you when you told me about pouring molds. Pick one corner, let the mold fill in, and pour from up high, and this will help bust your air bubbles. So you're basically just letting the silicone flow over the whole mold, and then it will self-settle itself down in all these little chunks that I have in the bottom of this mold already. And then I can come back and top it off if there's anything left after doing the little other lock next to it. So I'm just going to let this flow in, flow over the lock. It's filling in and I'm grabbing all them little details. The higher you pour, the better, because it helps bust air bubbles. Lets them come to the top. Alright. There we go. I'm going to let this thing start to self-level, and I'm going to go and I'm going to shoot over and I'm going to cover the little lock next to it, the little fancy style lock. And you want your mold to be about a ½ inch from the very top of your of the object you're molding, but I don't think it's got to be that much with this because this stuff's pretty good stuff. And I've used fiberglass in these molds. I've used rigid foam, so this one's just about filled. I'll go a little more so it can self-level, and then I'll go over here and start filling up this one. Again, I'm just going to pour in that corner, let this thing ooze and envelop that whole little lock. Let it flow over, and it'll grab all them details and make us a beautiful mold. I just love this 20T, it's just such awesome stuff. And the higher you pour, the better. I think I'm going to go back and do a little bit more in the corner of this other mold once I get this guy filled. Alright. At that level, this guy's just about leveled and covered. I think that's good. I'm going to pour this off into the other mold. And then when I come back, let's see, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to fill all these lock molds. And when I come back, everything will be cured. We can start unmolding these guys and see what we really have. Okay, YouTubes, it's time for us to demold. All the molds are poured. They're just a kind of opaque silicone block right now. I got all 6 of them poured up. They all look identical. It's been about a day. They usually only takes about 30 minutes before you can demold, but I just running around stuff to do. I did go ahead and demold the mimic lock. I just used a bottle of Mop and Glow, and I screwed this guy to a board in the top of the mold to hold the lock in place. So this is going to be the mimic lock. He's more of a 3D mold, where the rest of them are flat back mold. So we can go ahead and start tearing these guys apart and demolding and see what we end up with. I should probably use some scissors or a razor knife. There. Alright. Alright. Just have to cut some flash off this thing. Alright. And again, these are just cheap dollar store boxes. We can destroy them. No big deal. Okay. Alright. Get rid of this cardboard. This really wants to stick. And that's with mold release, so thank God we did use the mold release. Okay, here's all the blue tack. Alright, and there's our lock. Just pull this out. Okay. Alright, I'm going to pull this thing out. You guys get the picture. Okay, I got all the cardboard and crap cleaned off. I got all the blue tack pulled away. This is our lock. Just want to go ahead and peel back until you break that little vacuum seal. Alright. And I may do a second mold on this one and do it a 3D mold since it's such a smaller lock, and do it the same way that I did the mimic lock. Just put something right across the top like that. But that is our mold. So it's a nice perfect imprint of this. So that's going to make a super nice lock. So we got to go ahead and demold the rest of these guys. I'm going to start demolding all of them the same way. I'll take them apart and I'll show you guys all the molds when we're done. Okay, YouTubes, I got most of the blue tack torn away. This guy's been on here for months, so he's being a bear. He don't want to come off. But I got most of the boxes and excess stuff ripped off. You see there's a little bit of blue tack on the back of the original lock. No big deal. We're just going to pull the seam away. And we're going to demold this guy. Alright, kind of pop him up. So that is my original. And here is the mold for that guy, ready to use. You can go ahead and pour right in, which we're going to in a minute. So my little demon face lock, we get him back. Here's my Tombstone style lock. It's another big, heavy, oversized lock. Alright, pry him back real easy. He's got a mouth on him. There we go. So we get our original back, and then we have a perfect mold of that lock. And everything actually looks pretty clean. Didn't really pull the base coat off. I just went ahead and base coated each lock just to see what I had. Here's the sun and moon lock. And again, I've not trimmed any of these up yet. They're just out of the mold, just as I peeled the boxes and all the dollar store crap off of them. So we'll slide that out. Boom. Okay, so we get our original back for our sun and moon lock. A little bit of base coat at the bottom, but not a big deal. Oh, it popped right off. Okay. Because nothing wants to stick to silicone except for more silicone. So there's a little bit of trimming in there that's got to be done. And this is the skull one. I'll clean the blue tack off later. Alright, let's pop him out. Okay, got our original back. Get all the blue tack and junk off them later. And that is our mold of the skull. A little bit of brown paint in there. So this guy is good to go. And the last and final one was the one that was full of silicone chunks that I used from other molds. This stuff kicks so fast, I'm hoping I don't have to remold this guy. Because man, that stuff cured so fast, I don't know if it had time to get down in all them little chunks and everything enough to grab the details. We'll know in our first pour for sure. Okay, there we go. Well, so far so good. Alright. That don't look too bad. Alright, so we got all our originals back. We have all our molds made. All 7 of them. Now I want to go ahead, and we lost one. Now I want to go ahead and I want to use some 325 smooth on. And we can do smooth on, we're going to do some. I want to do some rigid foam in some because these are silicone molds and rigid foam won't stick. And I could do fiberglass in these. They'll take anything, they take concrete. So I'm going to clean this whole mess up. We're going to start pouring up some 325 mixed up. We're going to use mica powders to color these things. We're going to dust some molds. We're going to do some different things. We're going to make a bunch of locks up so you can see all the styles and see what they look like. Okay guys, so I'm just using the rice method to figure out how much resin or fiberglass each lock's going to take. I'm just simply filling it up with rice. I'm pouring it into this cup and then I'm making a mark on the side. So this is my little fancy lock, this one. This is the skull lock, goes up to here. This is the Tombstone style lock. This one, and this one is the wishbone style lock right here. So I'm going to make these marks and we're going to come back. We're going to start picking out some resins for these, colors we want to do, and we're going to start pouring these guys up right now. YouTube, so we got our smaller fancy style lock. I want to go ahead and mix up equal parts A and B of the Smooth On Smooth Cast 325. It's a transparent, so it will dry whatever color pigment you put in. I've got a bunch of different colors. I want this one to be kind of a brighter, a brighter gray color. So I'm just going to go ahead and tap some in. It don't take much. That right there. And then I'm going to add a little bit of white to bring that metallic up. You can mix powders. You could actually dust the mold if you want. It's kind of your own preference. You can mix the powders together or separate. It doesn't matter. But once you mix them together, they got to go. Okay, so we got these two guys. Now, as with anything, there's always an overpour. I keep an overpour mold nearby since I know I'm dealing with metallics. I'm just going to go ahead and use this old spike mold because you can use spikes in any colors. I'm going to mix these individually just to kind of get that pigment in there. So there's a little bit of pearl in there. You see this one. And then this side, I don't know if I can flip it. I'm going to mix the darker gray color. And just that little bit we put in the top has already changed the color, that kind of milky silver color, which is going to look great, I think, on this style lock. I'm going to go ahead and mix the two parts. I'm going to mix together and I'm going to dump it in the mold. So this smooth on stuff, great stuff. It's transparent. The powders basically make the lock. I should be putting gloves on because I can already feel this is slimy. But this is that bright silvery color. It's going to go fast because it's really warm out tonight. So let's go ahead and dump in. We'll fill this mold up. I don't want to go completely to the top. Alright, I think we're good. We're just about filled out, maybe a little more. Okay, we're going to leave it like that. I'll go a hair more, and then my leftover, my overpour, I'm just going to fill in a spike. Okay, YouTubes, on this skull mold, I want to use a really, really dark color. This is black, but it doesn't come out black. It comes out a really dark gray, which is okay. But I want it to be kind of rusty, so I'm going to take a little bit of this orange mica, and I'm going to dust the mold. This will look like rust, and you just kind of tap it around. You don't want it too heavy, or it'll leave pits in there. Get some down in that teeth area. Alright. And then when we're done, and we pour this stuff, we can buff it off. And we'll take that top layer away, and it'll go down and stay in the dark crevices. So I'm going to take some black. As you can see, it's a dark color, and that is more than enough. Just that little tiny spoonful. That's probably even overkill, and that's okay. So we're going to mix this. Lid on that. Alright, we're going to mix it into our other one. I get all that mica mixed up. There's a lot of mica in there. Or maybe, so I'll pour A into B. Let's do that. Hopefully there's enough space in here. Ooh, it's to the top. Okay. Alright. I should have used a bigger cup for this one. Want to get it nice and mixed up. We'll get our overpour block ready. Or you could even pour this into another mold if you know you're going to make another lock in identical color. That way you're not wasting resin, because these 2 gallons were a little over $100 each together. Okay. I'm just going to drip my spoon in there. And I'm going to pour in. I can feel it already getting hot in my hand. So we're going to go a little more. Alright, we don't want to over pour. Alright, I'm going to call that done right there. We got a little tiny bit left. Again, I'm just going to pour these into my spike mold. Okay guys, we're on to the sun and moon lock. I chose the gangster gold. I think this lock will look really cool in the gold color. So I'm going to pre-mix this on the one side. Oh yeah. I'm loving that color. I mean, that's going to look awesome in that particular lock. So let's go ahead and mix part A in. Try not to introduce too many bubbles. But this stuff is going to kick fast, and I have got to move to bigger cups. Okay. I do the big locks, the Tombstone lock and the wishbone lock. Those guys are going to need some space, so we're going to switch over to bigger cups. But I've got this all mixed up. And then we're going to fill it in the mold and go. I just love that color, and that's just a little bit of mica powder on the tip of this tongue depressor. Okay. There we go. It's like liquid gold. Okay, we're pouring out. Okay, we're almost through. A little more. And then I'll flat sand these when they're done. Alright, I got a little bit left. I'll pour off. Okay, YouTubes, so for the Demon style lock, I chose a straight copper color, which is pretty gorgeous. It's a copper penny mica from Jewelescent. And then I'm going to just put a little bit of this aged bronze stone color and dust the mold, just to get into them low spots. Oop, a little bit. And I'm just tapping it in there. And it doesn't got to be perfect, just to hit it around a little bit. Alright, good enough. Our mold is powdered. I'm going to go ahead and mix the activator in. Let's see, we got to pour out of A into B. Did I ruin the A cup? Oh, I ruined the A cup. Okay, I'll have to do 2 cups again next time. Okay. I'll mix this up. And again, that copper color is just freaking awesome. I think it's going to be great for this specific demon face style lock, or pan. Kind of looks like the Pan's Labyrinth face. I was kind of thinking that when I sculpted it. Alright, let's dump our beautiful copper color in. It may take all of it. That'd be awesome. Alright, cool. Okay, YouTubes, so for this Tombstone style lock, I went ahead and chose this straight bronze color. Again, it's just Mayspring Bronze Stone, it's called. I'm just going to do one solid color on this one. We'll mix it up and then we'll go. Like I said, it should kick fast because it's really warm tonight. So we're going to mix that up and pour it straight in the mold. Try and get all that mica powder mixed in there. Alright. There we go. Might take all of it. That'd be perfect. We've got a perfect pour. Okay, YouTubes, I went ahead and dusted the mold for the wishbone style lock with this Decor Room green mica powder. I'm hoping to try and get a bronze color out of it, so I'm going to mix a little bit of brilliant gold from Jacquard. And again, you can mix micas, you can do whatever you want. There's no set standard for this stuff to change your colors, whatever. It's just like mixing paint. So I'm going to do a little gold, a little of the bronze. That's what it kind of looks like. We'll mix it up and see if we're close to the color I want. More of a darker, leaning more towards of a darker bronze, but not so dark. That's actually pretty damn cool right there. We could actually probably go a little bit darker even. But it'll look more like a patina, like on a bronze lock, how bronze picks up that greenish patina. Alright, actually, I like that. I think we're going to go with that. It's like a dark gold color. It looks like a classic bronze. Alright, let's mix in this. Mix in part A. And then we got to go. Then I will clean this whole damn mess up, and we will demold, and we'll see what we got. Alright, I think I got quite a little bit extra on this. So, let's see. It's like the wishbone and the Tombstone style lock are the ones that take the most resin or rice when I measure them out. Alright. I have a little bit of extra maybe? Pretty close. Okay, YouTube, we are demolded. These are our molds that we made. All of the 20T silicone from Smooth On. These are my originals that we molded with just base coat on them. And these are the ones we just poured up. They're still warm from coming out of the molds. I think they turned out great. I mean, the skull looks great. We're still going to go back. We're going to sand this guy down. We're going to take some of that orange away and make the gray come back, since the guy is actually molded in gray. So we're going to kind of, we're going to buff that basically, like you would an old statue. Same with anything you buff the mold. Same as this one. We're going to buff them. We're going to buff this with some Scotch-Brite. And we're going to sand the backs of all these guys and flatten these backs out. And then we're going to put the hooks inside of them. This is the one I did off camera, didn't show you guys. I did a corroded kind of steel color one out of the gray mica and dusting the mold in green. And the Tombstone lock, that turned out great. That's just solid color. And if I had dusted the mold, if I had dusted the mold, it would have been more of like a matte finish. They tend up being a little bit shiny, but man, they're still warm. They look great. I'm really happy with all of them. In the morning, I'm going to show you guys one more way we can fill these molds and make them out of a different material, and we're going to do rigid foam. Okay, YouTube, so it's the next day. We got all our demolding done. I want to do one more casting technique that should be pretty cool for these silicone molds. Again, I got my Bity Mold, my 6 foam pound, the stuff I make all my Nightmare Makers skulls and bones and stuff with. We're going to mix some of that up. I've got 2 equal parts, 50-50 here. I'm going to mix that. I'm going to dump those in the silicone molds, and we're going to make some foam versions of our resin locks. They'll be lightweight. You can wear them on a costume. It's just going to be a lighter version, but you should be able to paint them and make them look just like an actual resin lock. So let's go ahead and dump in. I'll dump the thinner into the thick. Again, I've got a silicone baking mat for overpour because I have no idea how many locks I'm going to be able to get out of this. So we're just kind of shooting blind here. Alright, so I'm going to put a silicone baking mat down on top of this one to cover it up. I'm going to pour some into the Mimic lock. Looks like it's already kind of starting to kick. Alright. And then we'll have foam versions of our resin locks. So I'm going to stick that guy in here. And that's probably enough. I'm going to go in the wishbone style lock. And I'll do one, I'll try the Tombstone style lock just for the hell of it. Just see what happens. Okay, put a little more in this one. Alright, let's try that. Okay, we'll let the Mimic lock go. We're going to swish around, grab our details, kind of make a little skin on these locks to pull details in. Same with the Tombstone. And then I'm going to slap another silicone baking mat on top. Give it a little escape hatch at the bottom. Actually, I better go like this. Put some weight on that thing. Alright. We got a little escape hatch at the bottom so the foam can spray out underneath. So our excess foam will come out. And once these guys kick and start to cure, I'll bring them back and I'll show you guys what they look like while they're still stuck in the mold. Alright, YouTubes. So my book was a little bit too big. The molds were uneven. So I just hurry up and stack something else on top. And you can see the excess foam is squeezing out the backside. So I'm going to let that cure. I'm going to give it about probably 20 minutes. And then I'll pull this stuff off, we'll pop them out, and I'll show you guys what the foam versions of the resin locks look like. Okay, YouTube, so I got a little ambitious. I went ahead and made all the locks, poured them up in foam. I left the backs open just to see what would happen, sort of as an experiment. I did go ahead and pull the Mimic lock. I lost a little bit of the lip on the top. Then again, I did not rotate this with the foam inside. I should have rotated it around so that the foam grabbed all the details like a grab coat. I did not. And you can see it puffed up a little bit. It's a little bit fatter, so to prevent that, what I should have done was took the mold, stuck it back in the jacket I molded it in, which is my little mopping glow bottle. I could have taped up the crack, and that would have kept the mold from swelling and helped it. So overall, not bad. I mean, it's still a finishable lock. It's lightweight. It's durable. You can still put that out in the rain and the snow. I just took a little wood saw, and I shaved off the excess, and I hit it with some 80 grit on a flat block, just went across the top. So that's still a workable lock. I could fill that in with hot glue or putty or a million things and still have a good lock out of this. So we'll save it. We always keep our scraps, like Brother Vic Springsteen says, keep your scraps. Just like when we made our pourers yesterday, now we got a whole bunch of extra little spikes and multicolors to use, so we'll put those in a jar with the rest of them, and now we got spare stuff for other builds. So let's go ahead and demold all these other ones. So this is the Tombstone, oh no, this is the wishbone style lock. Alright. I'm getting a little bit of pain. Oh, I grabbed that corner. Alright. Get that mold pinched down there. Okay. So that's our Tombstone, or no, wishbone style lock. Again, all I gotta do is shave this off, take some 80 grit on a flat back, and we'll have a usable lock. You can put the little loop in it. But I mean, that's a good looking lock. Like I said, lightweight. Pops right out of the mold, so you can do resin, fiberglass, rigid foam. You can really build them any way you want, which is like the beauty of this process. Here is the Tombstone style lock. See how he turned out. Alright, let's try and save our mold. You can see it's still crackling. So it's still curing. That one looks like it's got a little porous holes in there, but man, a coat of fiberglass on that, or a coat of Mod Podge or something, it'd fill in some of the little holes, and that'd still be a great usable lock. So I'm really happy with that. The rigid foam ones are super nice and lightweight. Like I said, if you're going to use them for a costume, you're going to be wearing these things and carrying them around. Here's the skull. Let's see how that turned out. Pretty damn cool. I'm pretty happy with that off the bat. Again, you can still hear it crackling, so it's curing. But that's be another usable lock in foam. Okay, here's the sun and the stars, or the sun and the moon lock. This one's going to pop up pretty easy. And there we go. That's the sun and the moon lock. Again, we just flattened the back, cleaned it up, and we got a usable lightweight lock. I mean, these things are super lightweight. We got one more to go, the little fancy style lock I did. We just pop the mold away from it. Alright. Okay, molds come out clean. We got us a little fancy lock. How sharp is that? Again, it's lightweight foam. It's rigid. You can still drill through it and finish it and paint on it. So now we got a whole second set of locks that are not only foam, but we got our resin locks. So this is just another idea for you guys to use. Like I said, you can put anything in the mold because it's silicone, as long as it's not silicone, because silicone sticks to silicone, but nothing else. Let's go ahead and do our next step on these locks. We've got to go ahead and put our hoops on the top of these locks. We're going to work on that next when we come back. Okay, YouTube, so we got our locks all molded. What's the next step? We're going to do our hoops. How do we do that? This was easy. It took me a little bit of engineering, but I went to Amazon. And what did I buy? Plastic hangers. They're going to work great. They're made in USA. Love to see that. Made in USA. You get, this box has 12. They were like, I want to say they were like 14 or 15 bucks, maybe something like that. They're a little bit salty. It's a little bit over $1 a hanger, but they're heavy duty and they don't have a really big, wide, hollow part in the middle. If you look, they're pretty damn closed up except for a little pinhole in the middle. That's all they have. So they're pretty sturdy hangers, but they will warp with a heat gun, but you couldn't take a heat gun and bend a section this big. So we're basically only going to use the corners of each hanger. And this will go ahead and be our lock, the hoop for our lock. Now you could go ahead, I tried using, as a mock-up, some brake line, but not everybody has a tubing bender. It's also heavier. You don't need to go that steep for a resin lock. The plastic hangers, these particular ones are 3 inches wide. So I got a 3/8 bit taped up so that I don't go too deep into the lock. And then I'm going to cut a section of lock out. And we're going to start making a lock. So let's go ahead and grab this skull right here. He's on the table. I'm going to hold him over to the edge. And then we're going to drill him out. And then we'll cut a piece for him for a hoop. And then we'll sand it down, get it inserted, and we'll drill the holes to make a keeper for it so you can actually use these locks and move them from prop to prop. So that way they're actually usable. So I'm going to get this set up, then we're going to drill some holes in this thing. Okay, YouTubes, let's do it. Got the 3/8 bill chucked up. We're just going to put 2 holes in there for our hoop. We're going to go on either side of the CNC. I got a little CNC stamped in there if you guys can see that or not. Alright. And we don't want to go too deep. We don't want to drill through our hand either. That would suck. Just like that. I'm not even going to go as deep as I thought I was going to need to. Okay. Go anyways. Alright, it's that simple. We got our little hoop ready to go in. Let's cut us a hoop. We got our snips. Although you can do this with a, probably a hacksaw or something better to be more accurate. Alright. So, this will end up being our hoop. You can see it's got some little ridges in there we're going to want to sand down to smooth out, but we're just going to rough test it and see. Okay. So that's our hoop. It's plastic. It's, it's going to hold up. It's going to be rigid, so we're going to put 1 set screw in the back to lock this thing into place so that if we want to move it from prop to prop, all we got to do is take the little set screw out, pop it out, and we're good. Now, because this is a resin lock, we don't need the springiness of the hanger. So what I usually do is I'll put the hanger in place, I'll run the heat gun over the top of it, let it cool by itself, and then the hanger will always stay at that specific length or width. It won't want to expand anymore. So let's get that done. We got our hoops. I got to drill out all these locks, put hoops in them. I'm going to shorten them down a little bit, and then we can get on to some painting and some burnishing, and we'll finish these bad boys up and take a look at all of them. So, okay, YouTubes, before we can even start about painting and refinishing these things, I went ahead and I used a heat gun. And I put all the locks into place. I got them all sanded down, sanded the ridges out of them, and they're perfect. They fit great. They come in and out just like so. You slide them back down, you're good to go. Lock comes out. Okay, so before we can do paint, now that we've got all our hoops and all the locks installed, before we do anything, we've got to flat sand the back and clean that first. So you just take a block. I use 80 grit because it's fast. You can go back and knock it down later if you want, or use lighter grades. But we need to black out, or we need to flatten out this back. And then I took an 1/8 inch drill bit and I put a hole in the back. Now what that's going to do is go down to the latch, to the hoop, and it's going to lock it in place. This way you can't pull up on it. And if you want to take this and move it to a different prop, we're going to put a screw in it and take it out and go on to our next prop. Our next lock. So our next step is our 1/8 inch hole in the back, just to keep into that lock hoop secured. And then we're going to take a screw, a little number 6 screw. This one's about an 1/8 inch, so I use an 1/8 inch drill bit. I went ahead and took a little countersink bit that I got from Amazon, and I just put a little countersink in it. Just to let that screw sits right beneath the surface. Because we're going to finish this lock in place with the hoop in place. So our color stays on and everything else. Everything's been sanded, so we're ready to go. So this way, our screw is in, it's not coming out, and we've got a secured hoops for it. So now our lock actually works. We can move it from prop to prop. So our finished one should look something like this. And then we're going to go on the next step. We're going to talk about refinishing. Before we get to the refinishing though, if you are using the rigid foam, I took just a regular hoop and slid it out. Now the hoops has that little spongy kind of little tension in it. You don't even need a screw really to hold these in. If you're using it for like maybe a costume or a prop that's just sitting in static out in the yard somewhere, you just squeeze it in and it holds itself. Just the angle from pushing on the foam holds it and locks it into place, so you really don't need a screw on the back. Unless you really want to, then you can go ahead and put one in. But the lightweight ones, you don't even need a screw in it. You can paint it as is, paint it up, and set it on your dungeon wall or your chain or whatever you want to do. You're good to go at that point. So I think now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get these out. I'm going to go ahead and flat the backs out on all of them. That way we can get to some refinishing and some painting, and the sky's the limit. We can do whatever we want. So we'll come back in a minute. I'm going to get all these guys prepped up, and paint's going to fly when I get back. Okay, YouTubes, we're all cleaned up. Everybody's got their backs flattened out. I took all the screws out of everything so we can pop the lock loop out. But I want to talk to you about, before we go to refinishing these things, the ones that we had powdered the mold in. The skull, the kind of green patina on the bronze one. The point of that is so that afterwards you can come back if you so choose. You could throw paint on it right now as is, but these are so you can burnish, and you can use I'm just using an old Scotch-Brite pad. You could use sandpaper. You could use you could wet sand it. You could use steel wool, just to kind of take some of that color off and let it settle down in the darker places in your little cracks and crevices and pits and stuff, to give it that sort of green verdigris look, you know. And you can take that as far or crazy as you want. If you want to go ahead and paint first and then go back and sand later, the finishing options are up to you guys. I'm going to go ahead and blast a couple of these guys up. I got some kind of simple fixes, I think, for some of them. Here's the skull we did with it. We did the rust on. And I don't think I'm going to put too much paint on him. I kind of like him kind of scaly and that steel look as is. I think that's pretty cool. So I just wanted to say, as long as you powder the mold though, you can come back. You can put a little extra color in there, sand it off, you can kind of burnish it back, and you can leave it like that, or you could add more paint. We got to paint these stems anyways. We're going to dust some color on these, so I'm going to get set up, and then we're going to finish these guys up, and we'll take a look at them. Okay, YouTube, so my process is going to be the same for all these locks. I'm going to try and move through them as fast as I can. First and foremost, I'm going to pop the lock hoop out. So we got 2 separate pieces. I went ahead and scuffed the whole lock down with the gray Scotch-Brite, or red Scotch-Brite, doesn't matter, just to kind of scuff up the surface. I'm a die-hard painter. I don't like painting on anything shiny. So our lock's good to go. I picked out a nice Rust-Oleum aged classic bronze. I ordered up a bunch of cans from Menards, had them forever. This color is pretty close to my base color, so that's why I chose it. The first thing I do is I just want to paint the hoop. Again, it ain't got to be beautiful. You can take these steps as far as you want. I'm going to give this a couple of minutes to dry. I just want to make sure I've got a couple of coats of paint on that thing. So I'm going to let this dry, then I'm going to stick it back in the lock, and I'm going to put the set screw in so we can paint it all together and everything blends. Okay, so I got the hoop painted. I got the screw back in it. It's pretty close. It's not exact, but it doesn't have to be. I got my rustic bronze color I like, and now I'm just going to dust some more color on this thing just to kind of blend in everything. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can do as much as you want or as little. I'm going to set it here to dry, and then I'm going to come back. I'm going to use my red Scotch-Brite once it's dry to scuff it down a little bit, or you guys can do the wipe-off method if you want. That's up to you. How you finish it is completely up to you guys. If you like more, you like mess, add to that. I'll probably go ahead and burnish this guy a little bit, but hell, that's pretty cool right there. So we'll come back and this guy will be done. Hey guys, we're going to call the Demon lock done. I'm pretty happy with him. He's all painted up. I got him burnished the way I wanted, got him scuffed back. I'm pretty happy with him. I mean, with this guy, you could always drill the eyes out, put crystals in there, or, you know, there's a ton of things you can finish these guys differently. So I'm going to call him done. I went ahead and took the Sun and Moon lock. I went ahead and popped the ring out, painted it with a kind of a gold color. It's Rust-Oleum, American Classics, satin metallic aged brass, but it's actually a gold color. It's just called aged brass. So I went ahead and painted the hoop already. I just want to dust some color on this guy, darken this lock up. Again, it ain't got to be pretty, it ain't got to be perfect, but I want some color deep down in them little pits and crevices so this lock really stands up. So I'm just going to kind of wipe this one. Alright, I'm going to get a little more down there. That's just not showing up real great. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to heavy paint this one. Just kind of randomly. And then I'm going to let this guy dry. And I'm going to come back once he's dry. And I'm going to use my Scotch-Brite and I'm going to buff this one. So I'm going to let this guy dry. We'll be back and I'll show you what it looks like after he's all painted up and buffed. Alright, YouTubes. I got the Sun and Moon lock kind of burnished. That gold color is kind of hard to see. I went ahead and just used red Scotch-Brite to burnish it. What I think I'm going to do is use the same color from the Demon head lock, that classic bronze. I'm just going to dust some more color in. I'm going to burnish that guy so the browns get down to them pits, and we're going to call this guy done. Alright guys, so the Sun and Moon lock is done. I went ahead and added a second color, and I just kind of wire brushed it. Give it that more like mottled, beat up look. And you guys take your distressing as far as you want, as much as you want, as little as you want. You put 15 colors on, but I'm just sort of speed painting today, so we're going to call this guy done. And I've got the skull lock up next. I went ahead and painted the hoop a graphite color for painting wheels. I'm going to go ahead and dust his color on. I'm going to cover up that little screw color, put a little on the back, blend into that hoop, and I think I want to shoot him at a down angle. Alright, we're going to let him dry, and then I'm going to burnish him with just a little Scotch-Brite pad, and I think we'll call him done, because I like the rust and the gray on him. It looks more of a rusty steel finish. Alright guys, skull lock's done. I'm pretty happy with them. I like the way I got them all burnished. Added a couple of shots of orange to the top of his hoop. But I'm going to call him done. And then I went ahead and took a little fancy style lock, and I shot the hoop with a metallic aluminum color. So I'm going to go ahead and give this thing a couple of shots, and then I'll probably wipe off right away. Yeah, because that's a pretty brilliant color. That's almost mirror-like finish. Yeah, that's going to be some nice details on that one. Alright, so I'm going to play with this one, and then I'll probably wire brush this one too and scuff a little bit. And then maybe do a little bit of a black finish on it to kind of bring them details out. So I'll show you this when it's done. Alright, so I got the fancy style lock done. I went ahead and shot the aluminum color on it. Kind of burnished it with just the Scotch-Brite. I'm pretty happy with that. Everything shows up nice. It's kind of got a nice shine to it. So I went ahead and knocked him out. And while I had the graphite color out, I went ahead and shot the top of the lock for the Mimic lock. And since this one was another, it was a powdered mold with glow-in-the-dark powder, I took some Rust-Oleum inverted marking paint, fluorescent green, and I just gave a shot to the top of the lock. It just kind of blended it all in. And again, I think this one's done. I'm happy with him. So these two guys are knocked out. Got the screws in place. These guys are good to go. The next one I'm going to do is the wishbone style lock. I'm going to go back to the original gold color from the Sun and Moon, and I might do a shot of black on this one. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going to paint this gold, the hoop gold, and then I'm going to spray the lock down, wipe it, and burnish this one, and get this one finished up. Hey YouTube, so I finished the wishbone lock. Went ahead and just burnished it with the Scotch-Brite pad. I was real happy with how it came out. Then I just dusted a fog of satin green apple on top of everything, and this is how it turned out. So I'm really happy with this one too. It's got a nice kind of like a greenish, burnt, like almost like the Statue of Liberty type of finish on it. And my next one was the Tombstone style lock. I went ahead and painted the hoop a dark aged bronze color. It's a Rust-Oleum, and this is even darker than the original color we started with. So I want to use that darker color to get in all them little cracks and nooks and crannies and crevices and fill in. I want this one to be a really dark lock. So I'm going to spray this one and start burnishing that one off. Okay, YouTubes, so I use this really dark aged bronze to go ahead and paint the Tombstone lock style up. I'm really happy with it. It's a lot darker and cooler. I went ahead and just sprayed some bright copper on my fingers and just sort of touched the edges of the lock and brought a little bit of copper down the face of that demon. Just as a little accent color, a little button there. So we're going to call him done. I'm happy with him. And since I've got this super bright color copper out, I'm going to go ahead and base out this foam lock that I made. I'm going to brace it out all in the bright copper, and I'm going to step on it with this flat red oxide primer, and I'm going to go ahead and burnish this one too, so that way you can see that a foam one looks almost as perfect as a resin one. So I'm going to get this guy painted, and then we'll come back and we'll take a look at all of them. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them all in the house when I'm done. I'm going to black out the keyholes for every single one. I'm going to put a coat of satin clear on all of them, and then we'll call them done. So I'll be back with this guy to show you what he looks like at the end. Alright guys, the last demon lock is done. This is the foam one, as you can see. Foam on the back side. I went ahead and hit him with the bright copper, and then I stepped on him with the red, and then kind of just buffed him out a little bit. He's super lightweight. I think I'm going to take all these guys inside the house. I'm going to paint all the keyholes black, and I'm going to come back out later on, maybe tomorrow, and give them a coat of satin clear over everything to kind of lock them down. It's been a long one. I appreciate you guys hanging in there. In fact, when we come back, I'm going to give you guys a chance to get one of these locks for yourselves. So give me a couple of minutes. Okay, YouTubes, we are done. These are all 7 of my locks. They're done. This is my Moon and Stars lock. This is my little, I call it the fancy lock. This is just my skull lock. Turned out pretty good. This is my demon lock. This is my wishbone lock. This is my tombstone lock. And this is my mimic lock, like the D&D creature. They're done, man. It's taken me 6 months to get them all molded and done. It's been a passion project for sure. I'm going to make some more. I even experimented a little bit and made one that glows in the dark. I'm going to try and black it out and see if it makes it look like it's like molten hot lava. I got a couple other ideas in my head I want to play with, so they're done. This is what they look like. Take a good look, and then I'll pull you guys back. Okay, YouTubes, man, I kind of went a little crazy. I made some of these guys. I made a string of these guys. I'm just having a blast. I just know that there's such a hole in the haunt world for locks. It just makes me sad. So, hey, challenge accepted. I did the best I could and threw what I could at it. I thank you guys for watching. Man, it's been a long video. It's probably my longest video ever. This has most definitely been a passion project for me. Nobody makes good locks. And because of that, I want to give one of these things away to you guys. I just want you guys to go in the comments, write enter me, and write down the lock you like. I went through them before. We got the sun and moon, the fancy lock, the skull, the demon head, the tombstone, or the wishbone, the tombstone, the mimic lock. I want to give one of you viewers a lock of your choice. So just go down in the comments, leave me a comment saying enter me for whatever lock you liked. And I'm going to give it about 2 weeks or so. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pull that drawing on Facebook like I did with my bone handles. So that way one of you guys can take one of these locks and put it in your haunt and get some use out of it. I'm going to try and put them on sale on Facebook eventually, so we're going to get there for the people who do want them. I do want to say thanks to K&T Halloween for putting this video up to Halloween's Not Canceled. Evidently, Halloween ain't canceled. I'm doubling down. You people see I'm working to do it, my best display, and I'm trying to plug holes in the haunt world the best I can. So I appreciate you guys for watching. I know this is a super long video, but man, I'm so thrilled to finally have these guys done so I can use them and put them out in the world. And it was just a passion project for me, like I said. And if you look down Amazon, this is what they sell on Amazon for, I think, $12. So I think it's a pretty far cry. I think mine's a lot better. I'm pretty happy, but that's what you get for $12 on Amazon. Alright, my work's done. See y'all in the next one.